Okay. One day, Nangaku came to Basho's hut, and I'm using the Japanese names because those are the ones that happen to be in this translation that I have. But of course, these people were Chinese. These teachers were Chinese. And Baso stood up to receive his teacher. Nangaku asked, that's the teacher, what have you been doing recently? Recently, I've been doing the practice of seated meditation exclusively, Baso replied. Why are you doing that? Nangaku asked. Basu responded, the aim of my sitting meditation is to receive Buddhahood. Whereupon Nangaku picked up a piece of roof tile and began rubbing it on a stone nearby. Seeing this, Baso said, Reverend monk, what are you doing? And Nangaku replied, I'm polishing a roof tile. Baso asked, what are you going to make by polishing a roof tile? I'm polishing it to make a mirror, Nangaku said. Surprised, Baso asked, how can you possibly make a mirror by rubbing a tile? Nangaku asked back, how can you possibly make yourself into a Buddha by doing seated meditation? This is a very well-known koan or story. But think now, however, I'm going to go off someplace else for a while. Think about it. Do we sit to express our Buddha nature, or does our Buddha nature ask us to sit? Do we meditate because we have Buddha nature, whether we recognize it or not? We might ask questions such as these because we live by thinking about things. Indeed, it is our thinking that creates the world that we live in. But it does so by using mental containers like these questions are, when our Buddha nature cannot be boxed or otherwise reached through thinking. Even that meditation might be related to our Buddha nature may be hard to imagine when so much time in sitting is spent following a series of thoughts and having to bring ourselves back only to soon get lost again. What most obviously comes between our Buddha nature and what we experience in ordinary life is thoughts of self and subsequent emotions related to likes and dislikes. It is when we are not spending time acting on our thoughts and meditating that our minds do quiet down enough that few, if any, thoughts remain. Without trying to then, we see that thoughts come out of nowhere. We may even get the feeling that there being something there that is more essential than the self-oriented problems that pester us daily and dominate us at times. However, this something that is not there when thoughts are is not Buddha nature, but is at best only a picture of it. Dogen compared trying to explain our Buddha nature to eating a painted cake. Holding on to experiences in meditation makes things out of them, and thereby puts them in samsara, the realm of form and suffering. The fact is that we cannot see our true nature for the same reason that our eyes cannot see themselves. True, samsara is, as everything is, itself a part of Buddha nature. Another part of it is our selfishness and the sour taste that it leaves us with. Yet another is getting completely lost in problems. Nevertheless, the relative remains the relative, and the absolute remains the absolute. No one makes a mirror just by polishing a tile. No one makes a mirror just by polishing a tile. If so, why do we meditate? It may be to get something from it in the beginning, but we certainly don't keep saying to ourselves after every time we sit, am I there yet? Suzuki Roshi said that practice is like walking in a heavy fog. You don't realize that you're getting wet until your clothes are soaked through. The fact is that every attempt to attain something specific from meditation turns reality inside out. Like thinking that living makes our heart beat when it is our beating heart that keeps us alive. Similarly, we can't get from here to there if we are already there. How can we practice in hopes of getting an anticipated effect when we start out with that effect? Can you imagine someone new coming up to me or you after meditation and asking if you have ever heard a beginner's mind Zen center? One time I was exchanging who knows who with somebody I had met on a beach, and they asked me if I knew Peter Schneider. Say you said, I sit because I want to. In I sit because I want to, the want to implies trying to get something. The because suggests a reason for that. And there ultimately isn't any I. Indeed, any understanding of sitting, my words here as well, misrepresents the Buddha nature that we are always, nevertheless, expressing. All there is to know is that we cannot attain what we already have. And as we cannot become any more than who we are, attempting to get somewhere closer like this must take us further away. Fortunately, we are less away from ourselves when noticing thoughts as they come up. The solution is shikantaza, literally just sitting. You have heard, when you sit, just sit. When you eat, just eat. Just be in the moment is also said. But even the tiniest piece of time is based on a concept. And the same is true for just. Sit, period. Be, period. After meditation, we chant the 4 Bodhisattva vows 3 times, as you know, in the evening. Once, I started doing it a 4th time and heard only myself say, be. The first syllable of beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Afterwards, I joked that my be had been an abbreviated version of the 4 vows. While Buddha nature cannot be expressed even by be, I won't get any closer using words here. Thank you. Let me put you on the other view so we can all see each other. Here we are. Oh, that's not it. Try again. Here's here. Yep. Jane's going to be here with me. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Is my cushion? Yep. Okay. Yes. There you go. Let's see. I'm going to get both of us in here. Okay. Do you have any questions, comments, rebuttals? Rebuttals?
Yes, I'll lead the crowd today.
Okay.
Is meditation Buddha nature in the sense that when we still our minds and can eliminate the noise of day-to-day life, that we're at that point able to perceive our Buddha nature? It's a personal thing. It's not an entity, but it's just us once we're calmed and quieted down, and that's what meditation is. Is that a correct?
No, that's why I said what Suzuki Roshi said. No, not that one. Let me see here. I have a comment here, and then I got mixed up as to which is which. Oh no, let me see here. Where was it? Oh yeah, of course. I'm not fighting it, but now I'm kind of now I'm remembering it. Dogen said, this is a paraphrase, not the exact words, so I'll have to check this later. But Dogen said something like trying to express or talk about or even be Buddha nature is like trying to eat a painted cake. So yours, even what you just said and what I said, Mike, is a painted cake. So therefore, as well, I said, relative is relative and absolute is absolute. But then I also said, I'm quoting myself here, I also said, nevertheless, we are closer to ourselves when we meditate or when we are being aware of our thoughts in everyday life. But no, it's not Buddha nature. Because Buddha nature is not just beyond words, and what we're using right now is that way of words. And definitely it's beyond words. But the minute you think, we think almost always in terms of words. Even though we don't speak, we're using words. Our thoughts are expressed in words. Not everything is expressed that way, but mostly it is. So therefore, as said before, think beyond thinking.
So that I understand you correctly, then once again, we're in a situation where words get in the way of what we're trying to understand, but that when we meditate, if we choose to call Buddha nature, we're trying to, we are, I don't even want to use that word. I think I'll keep my mouth quiet because I can't form a sentence, a question.
Well, Mark, as I said before, something gets between our Buddha nature and us. Okay, I didn't use that word us, but us, Buddha nature and us. But when we're sitting and when we're meditating, we become closer to that. And so, but we don't want to, but still, it's still a painted cake. Okay. Thank you, though. Anybody else? Yes, Mark.
Hi. This mirror, I've heard talk of this mirror in other talks, and referring to polishing mirrors. And so the mirror is reflecting everything, correct? We're trying to polish a tile, which is us. We're polishing a tile, which is futile. We're doing something very futile sitting here, trying to become a reflection of reality. And so I'm kind of working with this symbology here is that that our minds, I mean, it basically points to that our minds can never really become this clear, become clear enough to see. It's only by just being.
Well, it's certainly the first part is true, but even as I said at the end there, by being, I joke with it, but being also is a word.
Well, I like what you said about be, where you stopped in the middle.
Be.
So maybe I
Be.
couldn't follow the logic, but I
Okay,
did follow just
okay.
be
Well,
parts.
be, and sit are another words for practice.
So you're saying the words do get in the way, like Mike suggested,
Of
that
course, yes.
words, thinking, all these things clutter us up and clog our minds in a rational place when we can never really get there, like
Not that way.
by
No,
our minds.
not that way. Not that way. No.
That was a yes or what?
The answer is, well, affirmative to what you said is yes.
Yeah.
We can never get there that way.
So why do we sit?
That's what my whole talk is about. Why do we sit? Why do we sit?
This is the answerless question?
It's well, in a way, yes, that's true. It's an answerless question. Yeah. But anyway.
But I would say this is a meaningless activity. I would say sometimes this is the most important activity a person could ever do.
Because it's meaningless. That's right. Because it's meaningless. That's exactly right. Because it's meaningless. Yeah.
Because meaningless is everything, right? Meaningless means we've taken the meaning out, we've taken our minds out of the situation, and then it can be. Am I
No, because our mind is be also.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I think Alan Watts often says,
be, let's say for talking's sake, that be is the closest word.
mhm.
I'll just say that. I'm not saying that's true, but I can propose that. But still, it's it's the closest word. But the biggest thing is not closest. The biggest thing is word.
The biggest thing is word.
Within this sense, the closest word. That's the main thing is that it's whatever we're talking about. This Buddha nature that is everywhere.
Yes.
It is not going to reside in the word be, or otherwise everything resides in Buddha nature, including the word be.
Yes, it's all small mind activity.
Yes, it's all small mind activity.
So as Alan Watts says, then there's no word big enough to say it, or your mouth is not big enough to say the word.
That's a very nice quotation. Yes, I like that. Yeah. You
So
got
why
it.
do we sit?
We knew all along. You already had that quotation. Yeah, you did. Thank you for being kind enough to share it with me.
Okay.
Jane, have any responses?
Well, I have a slightly different feeling about why we sit. I realize that that's part of it, but I think that we sit mainly to train body, speech, and mind, because if we don't, we're at the mercy of what we say, what we think, and what we do. And when we start sitting, we begin to experience Buddha nature as we are, without trying to be something more than as we are. And that's the beginning of bringing our thoughts into discipline, and our mind into discipline, and our actions into discipline. And it's a kind of a lifelong practice, but I think for me it's like neither meaningless nor meaning. It's like putting that aside altogether and just trying to train us as we are. So from my experience, we sit just to experience our Buddha nature, because we don't usually. We are Buddha nature, but we usually don't even recognize that. And so when we sit, there's nothing else but us as small mind and us as big mind. And just forgetting even that, we're just sitting as we are, and that's the main thing. But for me, it's that discipline has to be the outcome of it. Because if we don't, we're literally at the mercy of a tyrant of ourselves. And that's how I see it.
Anything else? I need something else. Hungry for a question. Yes. Oh, Mike. Yes. Yes. Okay.
I
Thank you.
keep coming back to the same statement that I heard in the 1970s that set me off on studying Buddhism, the Baba Ram Dass, of just be here now. And meditation is a form of being here now where you're just in the moment. And that moment will allow you, through practice, to possibly understand what we call Buddha nature. Is that a more clear statement on that? I'm tangling over words, and of course Zen is, wordless. So it's like I can't think of the right words to say, but I feel that when I meditate, I'm in the moment. Just for a split second, every now and then, all of a sudden, like I'm right here, and I don't even realize I'm right here. I just perceive it, and then boom, my thoughts take off and stuff. And that point of being in the moment, is that a representation of Buddha nature in the sense that you are no longer interfering? You are just being, like you said, being.
Well, I like the word representation because therefore it's a represented Buddha nature. It's a painted Buddha nature. So it's back to the painted cake.
But it still has value in the sense.
Oh no, they're all.
How to understand.
We're not saying the only thing that has value is something or not. And I agree with what Jane said. But because why do we sit? Well, we sit to practice, and we have a reason for that. But when we try to find out what that real reason is, I began with the questions that were totally are rhetorical. One was, do we sit because Buddha nature asks us to, or do we sit because we have Buddha, or do we sit in order to realize Buddha nature? And all those are mental concepts, right? But we do practice, right?
Isn't that unfair? You're setting us up with unfair questions, Peter. Isn't that unfair? Those are like trick questions for our minds.
Exactly. That's exactly. I would guess that's right. I wouldn't try to trick you, of course.
That's a koan, a trick.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I still think that words are Buddha nature. I think that the mind can understand very clearly and can see very clearly, but I don't think that we can grasp it ever. So that if you understand something very clearly one moment, you may fall in the mud the next moment, or you may wander in the weeds the next moment. But I do think words, body, speech, and mind is the moment or the means with which we enter life. And without that, without the trained body, speech, and mind, and those are all Buddha nature, and they have to wake up to that. And so we sit just for that reason. But I think words are Buddha nature, and I don't have anything against using words. I think words can actually express a lot as long as we understand they're not the final meaning.
Exactly. What's the final meaning?
The final meaning is just sitting.
Just sitting.
Just doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's just being and just cooking, just drinking tea, just drinking water, whatever it is we do. It doesn't matter what it is. We sit because it's easy to understand that we're studying. If you're out weeding the garden, you don't really think of that unless you've been sitting, maybe.
Yeah, I'm the garden weeder, so she doesn't.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to bring up the dishes.
But now that we're home alone, I do the gardening and the dishes.
There you go. What are you talking about?
I had something else I wanted to say, actually. Oh yes. If there is a most important point, the most important point is it's within words here, is to be open to everything. That's the most important point. I didn't mention that point, but to be open to everything is what the point is, and that's what our practice helps us to do, is to be open to everything.
Peter,
Yes.
from kind of from the Dogen way of looking at it, is meditation not the activity of attempting to solve the Genjo koan, meaning this moment, the solving of the koan of this moment, of every moment, and
Well,
And
the
act of trying to do so is what can open the door to Buddha nature. Yes or no?
well, I would say the end of the Genjo koan gives you the answer, and the end of the Genjo koan is, remember a student comes in and to the teacher, and he sees that the teacher it's a warm day in China, and the teacher is fanning himself, and the student, knowing what was happening, the student says, the nature of the wind is permanent, and by this he meant Buddha nature, let's say. And then he says, so why are you fanning yourself? The wind blows and cools us down in the relative sense. So why are you fanning yourself? And the teacher said, you, or the Dogen or teacher, I get mixed up. Anyway, says, the teacher said, you understand the nature of the wind is permanent, but you don't understand the fact that it's everywhere. And Dogen responded to that, and then the student said, what is the nature of the wind being everywhere? And the teacher just did that. He continued fanning himself. That's the meaning of the Genjo koan. This is Genjo koan.
Is this the sound of one hand clapping, Peter?
No, because it's an octopus. This thought is an octopus. It tries to do it with all eight hands, as it were. Jane, is this the sound of one hand clapping?
No.
I
Not a chance.
didn't see what you did.
Oh, I was fanning myself. Oh, Jane or myself?
Oh, yeah. I see. You were fanning yourself in answer to one hand clapping?
No. That's I don't know. Mark saw that though. I think maybe that's what Mark was being very funny. I didn't notice it, but that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's what Mark said. This is one hand clapping.
Is this one hand clapping?
Wait, I can't see you.
No.
No.
No, he's making a fist
I'm just being a clown.
yeah, making his hand move. But so we need to have the closed captions here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, this is Arvin. I got lost in this
that's true.
conversation.
It's good
What?
to.
What was John's original question?
What was
What was it?
John original question?
So the Genjo koan is a famous koan by Dogen, and really it's thought in our school of Zen to be the koan. It's basically the koan of this moment, of the here and now. And my question was, if sitting really is the activity of solving the Genjo koan, and if that then leads to the opening and the experience of Buddha nature. And Peter was saying, no, that is not the case. I think his explanation is that the fanning is somewhat representative, I think, of our practice. We continue on with our practice, even though we know that Buddha nature is present and it is permanent and it is everywhere. we still continue on with our practice. We still keep meditating. We still keep fanning, even though the wind is everywhere. Is that right, Peter?
Yes, it is. And what Dogen is saying is that I think Jane kind of mentioned this actually. Anyway, well, from one point of view, practice is always necessary because practice is the representation of enlightenment. But practice represents enlightenment. Practice is one. I can't. I think I'd be mixing metaphors too badly if I said that practice is the painted picture, because it's different metaphorically. But anyway, so what people sometimes think is that you become enlightened and you're enlightened, and well, that's enough, and they walk away from that because they've gotten it and they've got what they came for, and they go, and then they haven't actually. Because if you want to express Buddha nature, you practice. Practice is an expression of Buddha nature even before you understand Buddha nature or have any experience of Buddha nature.
And after, right, Peter? You said it's before,
And after too, yes, and after.
before and after. The once the bodhisattva reaches the top of the mountain, he doesn't bail out.
Yeah. I'm not quite certain this is accurate, but certainly Dogen did say, that there's enlightenment before enlightenment, and that's practice. And there's enlightenment, of course, there's enlightenment, but there's also, in that case, enlightenment after enlightenment, and that's also practice.
I have a question. I'm having some issue with the just mentally with the Buddha nature is permanent, when I thought the Buddha taught that there was no thing that was permanent, that all things were transient.
No, all things are transient. Buddha nature is not a thing.
Okay.
Right, a good
Arvind,
question.
if you haven't read yet the Genjo Koan, it's short. I mean, it's very short. It'd be an interesting read. The commentary is very long, but the Genjo Koan itself is very short, and I think is required reading for any Zen practitioner.
Yeah, most certainly. You always make reference to it.
Yeah, it's Genjo, Genjo.
Yes, Mike.
I know I keep barging in on the conversation, but is it in such a way that when we're meditating, all life we should live life as a meditation? That would allow us to be where we are. Like I say, I meditate on a bus, or I'll be sitting in a bus stop, or sitting in a line someplace, and I just am in that moment. Is that a form of meditation, or is that just?
Oh no, I think you're right. It helps us to be where we are. Yeah, that's very important.
I say if meditation is like a painted cake, then I'm like Jane. I say we just eat the cake.
Is it chocolate?
Of course. I just had a piece before I sat down. It was great.
How'd you get? Oh yeah, you make the cakes, don't you? You make chocolate.
It was my birthday yesterday, so I got a chocolate cake.
Really?
Happy birthday! Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mark.
I'll eat a piece of chocolate in your honor this afternoon, Mark.
I think so. I wish I had pieces of cake just to send out to you guys right now.
Thank you for reminding me. That's something that I do every day. Yes, is there a question for? No. John. John's given the Genjo Koan in the chat. If you can't see the chat, just click on the chat and you'll see the spelling of Genjo Koan. There's a book, we've actually taught a book on it. There's a book that was put together by several teachers of 3 different teachers talking about the Genjo Koan. It's a very, very interesting book. Suzuki Roshi.
Yeah, that's the best version by far. Best translation.
And Uchiyama Roshi, and the most famous one of the most famous Zen teachers back maybe like 100 years ago. Yeah, 100 years ago, actually. Yeah.
It has, I think, different versions, right? Different
A little
translations.
bit, yes, it does have a little different translations. Yeah, yeah. Because
I'm sorry, what book is that?
it's called. I forget what it's called. It's what we. I can go pick it up library. See if Jane can find it for us.
What's it called?
It's on the probably in the top shelf of my thing.
What's it called?
Well, look for Gedger Cohen, black and white. It's good. I don't know. That's the problem. Black and white. Black and white.
Another reason to be glad when the bookstores open again.
Well, you can. This book is well. I mean, there aren't that many copies around. But I think it only had one publisher. But anyway, it's so there may not be any new books, but there may be two. Jay's looking for it now. She's got it. She's got the book.
That's it, right?
Yeah. Mel Weitzman Mel Weitzman and another person, that friend of ours is
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, here it goes. 3 commentaries. Very simple. Genjo Koan, 3 commentaries.
It's backwards.
Cool, thank you.
I know it's kind of backwards. Yeah. I don't know quite how to do that because you can't turn it upside down. You can't go like that. I mean, how do you do like this? And you like that? No, you can't do that either.
There it is.
Yeah.
Peter, it's only backwards to you.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
There is what you see.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Dogen Genjo Koan, it's called.
Published about 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
I put the Amazon link in the chat.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Who's the author?
Well, the author is
Also available from
is
your,
Wilson.
Commentaries.
Yeah, yes. The 3 teachers, and then there were 3 different commentaries about what the teachers said. So there's 16 altogether. Yeah. It's a wonderful book.
I see a riddle in the chat.
Oh, you got a riddle in chat. Thank you. Let's see. This must be Dan. That's what Daniel has done this to us.
Where is it? Oh,
Oh, yes.
okay. Can a painted cakes also be? I would assume so. Since
I
they're
would say
made by Small Mind.
no, but I would say, well, I would say you need the scan you need the scandal of taste to have it to be delicious.
Well, which is in the, but it's in Small Mind.
It's small, but it's
So
in small
either
mind.
delicious or not delicious.
Yeah, yeah.